Since then, Dr. Mahathir's refusal to commit to a handover date has led to tension within the ruling coalition. After this past weekend of high political drama, Mr. Anwar declared he had been betrayed by former friends of Dr. Mahathir's party, along with traitors in his own. Now, for more on this, Professor James Chin, Director of the Asia Institute at the University of Tasmania in Hobart, joins us for some analysis on this. Firstly, now that Malaysia's king has accepted Prime Minister Mahathir's resignation, what happens next?
Well, what happened is that the king has appointed Mahathir the interim prime minister. So now both sides are chasing the numbers game. They're trying to make sure that they get enough MPs to form the next government. Now, one very important thing and probably the most interesting thing about the present crisis is that this is really, really unusual. I've never seen in any other country, which is that both sides are putting up the same person to be the prime minister. So the opposition who is trying to depose Pakatan Harapan is actually naming Mahathir as their person they want to be the prime minister. And my understanding is that the new Pakatan Harapan is also putting Mahathir up as the new prime minister. So in some ways, it really doesn't matter how the crisis goes. It's very likely that Mahathir will come back again as the prime minister.
Okay, so saying that, why did Dr. Mahathir resign then? What is his end game by doing so?
He had to resign for tactical reasons because Malaysia followed the British system. If the prime ministers resign, it means automatically the entire government resigns as well. He had to resign, otherwise he cannot put together a new coalition.
So that begs the question then, why did he want to do that in the first place, when there was already an understanding that there would be a transition of power to Anwar Ibrahim?
I think if you talk to people in Malaysia, there are various versions of what do they mean by transfer of power. Basically, what happened last Friday at the Pakatan Presidential Council meeting was that they agreed, after a very heated debate, they agreed to give a free hand to Mahathir, and that Mahathir was to resign after the APEC meeting, which will be held in November this year. But the crucial part is that they did not attach a date to it. In other words, Mahathir could name the date of his retirement, and this was confirmed by Anwar Ibrahim at a press conference. This means, in theory, come November, after the APEC meeting, Mahathir can actually stay on longer than what is envisaged by a lot of people. So I think one of the things you really have to look at is really the relationship between Mahathir and Anwar, and the fact is that basically Mahathir is very reluctant to hand over power to Mahathir. Mahathir is very reluctant to hand power over to Anwar.
So then, saying that, where does this then leave Anwar Ibrahim and his chances of becoming prime minister then?
The general consensus in Kuala Lumpur at the present moment is that he will not be prime minister this year or next year, and he'll probably miss his chance to be a prime minister in the future as well.
And what makes you, well, what's the thinking behind that, that if he misses out on this chance, that in the future he would also have no chance?
As long as Mahathir is in charge, Mahathir, given his track record, will probably try to hand over the prime ministership to somebody else. If you look at their relationship for the past 40 years, it is quite clear that ever since he was set by Mahathir in 1998, Mahathir has made it quite clear that he doesn't believe that Anwar is the right person to lead Malaysia. My suspicion and my speculation is that Mahathir thinks that Anwar is not capable of ruling Malaysia, and that Anwar is not acceptable to large parts of the Muslim community in Malaysia.
So if he said that, and if he thought that, if that's the thinking behind it, why agree with Anwar in the first place then to go into the elections and then say 2 years later, I'll give you the prime ministership?
Oh, that's very simple. Prior to the election, everybody got together because everybody wanted to get rid of Najib. You can't really hold them to what they agreed on before the elections, because back in 2017, 2018, it was widely understood among everybody that Najib has really damaged Malaysia because of the 1MDB corruption case, and that you really need to get rid of Najib. So basically, everybody came together in the opposition side to get rid of Najib. I wouldn't hold up too much against Mahathir or the rest of the opposition. You can see this clearly in the manifesto they put out in 2018. They made all sorts of promises, and some of the promises actually contradicted each other. it was very clear that election was all about getting rid of Najib.
Well, with the situation that we find ourselves in now, is there a possibility or the chance that a snap election could take place? Or do you see this as purely, as you mentioned earlier, sort of horse trading, trying to get the numbers to form a new coalition government?
A general election, obviously, is my preferred choice to break the deadlock. But it will really depend on the king. The king can't really order a general election, but he can actually influence by advising the prime minister, in this case, the caretaker prime minister Mahathir, to go for the general elections. But we have to see the sort of numbers they put together. So, for example, if Mahathir can go and see the king and tell him, I've got upwards of 130, 140 members, obviously that is quite a significant majority, then the king may not require Mahathir or suggest to him to go for a general election. So everything depends on the horse trading over the next 24 to 48 hours.